Making a video in a while because I've been working on a picture by picture video. It's kind of harder than I thought it would be. But alright, so I'm gonna tell y'all a story on how I became homeless. Now I know most of y'all are like, yo Todd, you're homeless because does it look like you're homeless? You're living in a nice house. But actually, to be honest with you, like a transformer, it's more than meets the eyes. The place that I live at is actually a shelter inside of a townhouse, right? But because of the shelter and the agreement that we signed, we can't disclose the name. So we're just gonna call the shelter the Sanctuary. Alright, so I'm living at the Sanctuary, right? So before I moved to the Sanctuary, I used to live with my sister. Now, me and my sister, we lived and we had a good time and everything. And what happened was, my sister was hardly ever around when I lived with her. She would be around maybe like 2 or 3 days, and then she'd disappear. So what came around one day was that the landlord came around, and the landlord came and left a note on the door, but because I thought it was from my sister, I didn't read it. So when my sister came back one day, she gave me the paper. She was like, Taj, go stay at a friend's house because we're gonna be moving. So I was like, alright, I can do that, I can go stay at a friend's house. So I went to go stay at my friend Drew's house. I was chilling for a while, and eventually I was like, alright, I gotta call my sister because I can't stay here for forever. So I called my sister, and my sister said that we can go live at my cousin's house. So I was like, oh, alright. So this is probably the first time I was officially homeless. So I was staying with my cousin, and I guess I know I didn't have a lot of money because around that time I had lost my job because I didn't have nowhere to stay, and I was spending money on food that I didn't have enough money to actually go to work. So I lost my job, and now I was living with my cousin. So I know that at the time when you living with my cousin, everything of mine wasn't so fresh. My clothes wasn't as clean as I wanted them to be because I couldn't wash my clothes all the time. So what happened was, I guess after a while, she got fed up and she found one reason to kick me out. The reason she had for kicking me out was because I made tuna fish cakes, which, to be honest with you, tuna fish cakes are like salmon cakes for me. It's just using the same ingredients, but just for tuna fish. But she kicked me out. Yeah, and I got the call at my sister's birthday party. It was like, yo, Taj, come home, pack your stuff up, and leave my house because you ate tuna fish and you didn't share. That was good. Okay. And basically that's how the call went. So after all that had happened, I ended up going to live in my old house. Now for most people, they don't know that at my old house, the water pipes had burst. So they weren't able to get my house off the market real quick. So I went to go live in my old house. And actually I went because most of our stuff was still there. I had a place to sleep. I had covers. I had a lot of stuff that at least the house could actually, I can actually live in for a minute. So I was living in the house for about a week until I called my mother and told her that I needed help. Now, me being the person that I am, I hate to call for help. I truly, honestly do. Because I feel like if I'm calling for help, I am putting a burden on a person that I don't really need to put a burden on. That's the same reason, that's actually one of the reasons why I mainly wanted to leave Saudi Arabia, because I felt like I was a burden on my mother, because I would do nothing all day. I would cook and just sleep. So I felt so much of a burden to her that I felt like there was no choice for me but to leave. So I did. So anyway, back to the story. I called my mother and I told her my situation. My mother told me that I can go live with her friend. So I went and did that. I went to go live with her friend. I'm not gonna say her name, but probably the worst 2 or 3 months of my life. I mean, she would complain almost about everything, but I kind of learned to live with that, because a lot of the times when growing up, my mom used to yell at me for a lot of things I did, so I kind of grew on that anyway. But it made me realize that after getting kicked out of my cousin's house, that every place that I lived at, I always felt like I was walking on eggshells. Like, if I did something wrong the next time, I would have been kicked out. So sadly enough, that's what I did. I basically walked as if I was on eggshells. So I ended up moving out of there and renting a room. And it was a nice house on the outside, but it was horrible on the inside, let me tell you. The house was nice. Again, like Transformers, it was more than me. See, after a few months of living there, I realized that the entire house was infested with bed bugs. The entire house. But because I couldn't find another place at the salary that I was making, because my mom made me get a job because I wasn't going to school, so I went and got me a job, and because of the money I was making, I didn't have enough money to go find another place at the time, because I was only making exactly $500, exactly enough to pay my rent, and I mean, give or take a little extra change if my boss would let me do some overtime. Right? So eventually it came down to the point where I got fired at my last job. I'll make a video about that. But anyway, I got fired at my last job. So when I got fired, what happened was I ended up moving to my friend's house. Back to my friend Drew's house. I ended up staying there for about 3 days before he told me, dude, you need to do something because you can't live here forever. I mean, at least he was the most blunt person I lived with. He told me in 3 days. I mean, everybody else told me it in a week or waited a few months and then just kicked me out. But he told me in 3 days that I needed to do something. So I did. So I hit the floor running. I mean, the first thing I did was I went to the sanctuary. So I went to the sanctuary, signed up some paperwork, and from there on I've just been living here. Let me tell you, this place is like a low security prison. Yes, prison, because it's like we had cameras everywhere to watch your every move. You know, you have to check in, you have to check out, you have to put in your money, and you have to sign a contract. And if you have a job, you know, you have to put in money, because if you don't, then they'll kick you out, and again, you'll be out on the streets. So yeah, pretty much that's how my life is. It sucks, but there's always a fine point in every story. I got me a job from that shelter. From the sanctuary, I got me a job. Now, I saved up enough money to get my own place. And not only do I have enough money to get my own place, I have enough money to get what I want and get what I need. So, because of the sanctuary, I say thank you. And actually, because of the people that I lived with, I say thank you too. I mean, especially my cousin, because she was the one who widened up my eyes to truly say that not even family can help you sometimes. So, I'm making this video just to let y'all know that, because even though you have faith and love in the people who are closest to you, the only person who can help you at the end of the day is you. Alright, y'all. I'll catch you on my next video. Peace, love. Have a good day.